Our next guest on the pod was originally from across the pond, but he came over here to the East Coast. He's a badass ultra runner, and we're wicked excited to talk to him and hear some amazing ultra stories. Scott Jenkins, welcome to the On the Runs podcast. What's up, buddy?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. It's so cool to come on the show and just talk about some of the stories we've accumulated over the years through ultra running. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be in America and just
Yes.
really enjoying the experience so far. It's been great.
Oh, we're so happy to have you,
Well,
Scott. I
thank
think
you.
it's so awesome. I love when we get more ultra runners on the podcast just because this is a newer territory for me. And I just like to meet people who have similar experiences and you know how misery loves company. I
I
love
was
to
just
know
going
that
to
I'm not
say,
alone in
is
the
it
misery.
because you ultra runners are slightly unhinged
Yes,
and a little bit crazy that you know the stories are going to be a little bit bonkers?
the
That's
best kind of stories.
Yeah. Now, hey, you live in the States now. You're in New Jersey, I think, but you're originally from the UK. And when I was looking into things, and I love how Instagram has highlights. You don't usually see people posting on them, but I watched a couple of yours. We're friends with the Boston Run Show, Raccoon Media, and they
yeah.
have this huge run show in the UK called the National Run Show. And you've gone to it. I even think you've been a big part of it. Is that correct? You've been to the National Running Show, which is huge out there. Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
that is correct. I'm very lucky to have been at the National Running Show twice in the UK and twice in the US. So yeah, I presented up at Heinz Convention Centre twice and twice in the NEC in the UK. And I know the Raccoon Media team really well. Mike Seaman, who's the founder of the company, is just such an awesome company. I love what he's doing with those shows. Top bloke, really good guy.
We are a big fan of Mike over here. He is super cool. And
He is.
yeah, I know that he's got some big stuff coming up. Him and Susie Chan, two of our pod fam.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing the Javelina 100 this year. And God, I wish I could go out there and crew for them. I
Oh,
don't
that'd
think
be
that's in the
cool.
cards, but
I know Susie very well as well. We've
do
been
you
having
really? Oh, I'm so jealous.
plenty of runs together. She's an absolute legend as well. She very kindly paced me in a 100 miler once.
No
Um,
way.
Not a
yeah,
big deal.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Although she she may have stumbled and done a bit of a forward roll at one point during the evening section somewhere near Reading in the UK, if anyone's familiar with that area. But the National Run Show, like, it's an incredible opportunity to go and present at that. And yeah, so just a quick story, I suppose, to kick us off, because we're talking about stories. Back in 2010, myself, my brother, and our friend Rusty, we were lucky enough to run 2,000 miles from Boston in Massachusetts all the way to Austin in Texas. So we did a marathon a day for
Wow.
75 days. And when we were picking somewhere to start, we were like, well, we might as well just start in a pub. We can have a pint and then be on our way. So we started from a bar over there called McGreevy's on Boylston Street, Irish
Mhm.
bar. And I didn't know it, didn't know it at the time. Off we went, ran 2,000 miles. And then, yeah, back in 2022 and 2023, I got to present at the run show, and we went in 22. And I was like, oh, I wonder where this place is. I'd love to go to that bar. And it turns out that, some 22 years late, 12 years later, the bar that we started from was right across the street from the convention center. And I think, younger me, when I left that bar, would never have thought one day I'd be coming back to talk at the Running Show USA. So that was a very special moment and something I'm proud of. I also think the proprietor of the bar was probably like, you've been away from this bar for a while. Where have you been? Like, did you just run back? What's going on?
That is the perfect way to start off an incredible running journey. That
Wow.
mileage is just mind blowing at this point, but you got to start it off the fun way. There we go.
Yeah.
Now you're here on the East Coast. You're in New Jersey. Do you ever make many trips up to Boston?
I've been to Boston, yeah, because obviously with that run, it's got a bit of a fond space in my heart, Boston, I've got to say. So, like, yeah, I've been there about 5 or 6 times now, and every time I go, I still go to that bar and I get a whiskey from the bar, which is there.
Well, I know you're going to go to that bar again, but I want to give you a little insider tip here, a bar not many people know about, but
Okay.
it's called the Green Dragon.
Oh, I like.
And the bartenders are always Irish from Ireland. So
Yeah.
that's what made me think about it. But we like to go to the Green Dragon before we go to like a Boston Bruins game. It's like 7-8 minute walk from the garden, but it's kind of hidden on some street that's like bricks and everything. It's hidden in the back corner. It's a great little bar.
I
So
like
that's so cool. And then the other thing I wanted to say was I want to kind of hear your story now. You're from the UK. Like tell us a little bit who Scott is. I know you're over here in the States now, but give us this whole story. Fill in the dots here.
Oh, well, I don't, I'm still trying to figure out who Scott is, to be honest with you, Eric. I mean, if you find out, let me know. Um, but I would just say that, I was a runner when I was in school, like middle distance, like 800 meters, 1500 meters. Never really knew back then. And you'd probably tell it wasn't like the early 2000s. It was the late 80s, middle of the 90s. And I don't think I ever heard about trail running or ultra running at that point in my life. But growing up in Wales, you play a bit of rugby, a bit of football, soccer. And I did that up until the age of 30. Certainly I was playing soccer. I've got a story about soccer in a second, which will make you laugh.
Yes.
So I'll come back to that one. But I stopped playing soccer. We lost the cup final. And I was like, do you know what? I'm done with this. Like I'd prefer to just go out and go back to running. So I think it started with like the Neffley Half Marathon, which is a small town in West Wales. I grew up in Wales, in Cardiff, Wales. Yeah, from there, we, myself, my brother, our friend Rusty, we'd met at a summer camp, myself and Rusty and my brother, and we wanted to do something to help others. And I remember I was working in a gym in South Wales, and this guy came in every week, just once a week for his workout, a guy called Colin. He'd had a cardiac issue, been through surgery, and always like the happiest man on the planet. And I'm like, Colin, why are you so happy? Like it's chucking it down with rain. And he said to me, well, feel like I've had a second chance at life. And didn't land with me straight away, 30-year-old and thinking, well, what do I want to do with my own life when, I look back and hopefully do something that I could be proud of. And that's where we kind of came up with this idea of, well, let's go and raise some money for the British Heart Foundation. We picked 2 other charities like Salute America's Heroes, Help the Heroes. And that was it. We just went out and run 2,000 miles from Boston to Austin. And came back from that and went back to my day job. I'd taken all my vacation for 2 years and went back to my day job. And I don't think I immediately realized, but over time, I realized that running had taught me a great deal doing that kind of adventure. And I'm sure many of your listeners will appreciate the learnings of suffering through a bit of hardship, even if it's self-inflicted when you're doing these kind of ultra marathons and long multi-day stuff. You learn so much about yourself. It teaches you. The biggest thing I could say it's taught me is about putting problems into perspective and having the confidence to go and do difficult things. And these days I work for a massive corporate company, Johnson & Johnson. I'm very proud to do so. But they, somebody says to me, oh, we need you to come and have a conversation with a difficult customer, or somebody's a bit disgruntled. You're like, yeah, it's no problem. Like if I have to stand on the start line of a race in Death Valley and it's 127 Fahrenheit, that's a little bit more dangerous than going to see somebody who's a little bit disgruntled, and I'm sure we can iron things out pretty quickly. So it's taught me a lot about myself and how to deal with the hardships that life throws at you as well.
That is some serious perspective. Yeah, ultra running definitely gives you a new look on life, and it teaches you grit and perseverance and all kinds of different lessons. So
if I may, those wonderful words that you just alluded to, grit, perseverance, resilience, all of those things, I agree, ultra running teaches you. However, it cannot prepare you for this. So last week I donned my soccer boots for the first time in 15 years. I was invited to a pickup game, and I thought, what's the harm? Actually, it's a bit of HIIT interval cardio. Can't be that bad. I managed to get through the first game a week ago last Sunday, limping a little bit for Monday and Tuesday, thinking, oh, you can't quite do what 20-year-old Scott used to do.
Oh, no.
And then I went back yesterday morning for another kickabout. I was like, I really enjoyed that. Let's go again. That'd be brilliant. So I went back for a kickabout yesterday, and I got 3 passes into the warm up. I was like, oh, I think I think my groin's gone. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go sit this one out, lad. Sorry. So
Oh, no.
all those wonderful attributes which you mentioned a minute ago, they don't carry over to other sports, unfortunately.
Sadly,
Yeah.
no, apparently.
I got to tell you,
Oh.
I kind of just related to that for a second. So I'm a big hockey guy, Scott. Grew up
Oh,
playing my
awesome.
entire life and everything. And up until about a year ago, I was refereeing some very top level college hockey in the whole New England area. And high school, I was on skates and on the ice 4 days a week. And I didn't get to play for quite a while. And then one day I'm like, I'm going to play because I'll be fine. I skate all the time and I'm like really good at it. I'm really good at reffing and I'm involved in the entire game. Total different game when I was trying to play. I was like, I suck. I'm not good anymore. All this skating has not prepped me for that. And I just, wow, that I kind of related there on that story with running, ultra running, and you in soccer. But I feel like I can't skip over this Boston to Austin run. We
Does that
just
have a great ring to it?
yeah,
Boston to
I
Austin.
think that's why I went
it
with
really
it. To be
does.
honest.
And
So,
we
like,
just had this
too
guest
funny.
on a couple months ago, Justin DeFlamary. He ran the entire length of New Hampshire from the Canadian border to the
Amazing.
southern border to New Hampshire. And he kept talking about his team, everyone who was there to support him. Tell us a
Mm.
little bit about this Boston to Austin run, not just like running a marathon a day plus, but everything. Tell us about your team, the people. How do you do this?
It was amazing, right? It was 2010, so like it's I think iPhone generation 1 or 2, and forget about having an international call plan. There's no such thing at that stage. So we'd literally have to connect to the Wi-Fi every morning, and we pulled up the directions, we printed them off in the hotel that we were staying in, and that was it. Fixed directions for the rest of the day. And we
Mhm.
were lucky we were supported by our friends John and Adam, who came along for the whole trip, and they drove a support vehicle. And yeah, I think you have lots of learnings along the way about those kind of situations, but it certainly gave me a great deal of confidence to, and not overconfidence, but like a confidence to just go out and push yourself to want to do more and challenge yourself in life. And there were so many different stories that happened along the way from Boston to Austin. Like, many times we had no idea where we would stay for the evening. We'd finish
Mm.
running, it might be getting dark. We're like miles away from the nearest town. We just put a marker down, right? That's where we finished. We got to come back here tomorrow. Then we'd go into town, and we're young guys. We didn't have loads of money to be thrown around on accommodation each night, so we'd finish running. No stretching, zero stretching, which is probably why I pulled my groin yesterday. But we digress. You go into town, and then I'd walk into hotels and try to negotiate a room for the night or get a discount and explain what we were doing for charity so that we'd have somewhere to sleep, or trying to just live kind of meal to meal or accommodation to accommodation. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and all of the trappings of modern life that you think you care about go out the window, and actually all you care about is like food, safety, and having a bit of shelter. But
Mhm.
what was really interesting was that I'd never been a particularly salesy type person, but out of necessity would have to go into these places to try and negotiate, and we'd take it in turns. But that taught me a skill that I didn't really know I had, like the ability to just approach perfect strangers and ask them, questions about things. And
Mhm.
actually, that later served me on my career within J&J when I moved into medical device sales. But if I hadn't done the run, I wouldn't have learned that about myself, which then gave me a skill to take into life, which is really interesting. Um, in terms of Boston to Austin, one of my favorite stories, like there's a couple that stick with me. My favorite story was we woke up in rural Tennessee one morning, and there was a tornado warning on the radio, and I'd never heard one of those things. Like, this is a national service. I won't do the accent.
Scary,
Terrible.
right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what on earth do we do? So we hunkered down in a gas station. Not sure if that's a good idea. Lots of flames and petrol, probably not good. I've seen Zoolander. And anyway, so we're there, and it meant that we didn't get start running until later in the day, and that was always stressful because you'd finish later. It might be dark. You don't know where you're going, that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
typically, one of us might be quicker than the others over the course of the day. That day, I was slightly quicker, which was unusual for me, to be fair. And we got down to where we were due to finish. I looked at my watch and I'm like, right, 26.2 done. I'm just going to sit here. And I sat down on the curb, outside this Baptist church, and I'm in all my running stuff. It's 2010, bit of Lycra on, not really the attire that you would expect to see in rural Tennessee. And all of a sudden, I've got this aroma of like food being cooked. I'm like, oh, that smells so good. I'm like hungry. I'm waiting for the guys to finish. And I turn around, there's these two gentlemen who were in the car park of the Baptist church cooking some hot dogs on like one of those barrel barbecues. And I was like, I just looked at them and they looked at me. And then a couple of minutes later, they came over and they're like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, you'd learn it by that time. You're like, I'm running 2,000 miles and like people's head would explode. They're like, what? Well, you're not from Tennessee. What's going on?" They said, "You must be hungry." I said, "Yeah, I'm really hungry. I'm pretty ravenous by all accounts." He said, "Well, we're making some hot dogs. Do you fancy a hot dog?" I said, "Oh, I'd love one, yeah." So next thing you know, we're over at the barbecue, and then the boys finish running. They come over, and then these guys are calling up their buddies, and they're good old boys, right, from Tennessee. Next thing you know, the whole of like this rural community were in the car park, like come to talk to these nutters that are running across America, and they're like, "Where are you guys staying?" Like they fed us and watered us. So I said, "Oh well, we're going to drive to the nearest town." They're like, "No, it's 40 miles. That's an 80-mile round trip.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
you can stay here in the church." I'm like, "Oh, are you sure?"
That's so cool.
So cool. So we stepped into the church and we slept on the floor of the church. And the next morning we woke up and the same congregation came back and they said, "Right, we've got to say some prayers for these boys from overseas that are running 2,000 miles." And we're like, just so touching, so genuine and kind, a really wholesome experience. And then we went on our way. They wished us luck, of course. And we got to the finish of the run and I went back home to Wales and my mum said, "Oh, it's Christmas time." She said, "There's a card there for you from Tennessee." And the church from Tennessee had taken the time to find us online and sent us a Christmas card saying, "I hope you completed the run. Well done." I was just
Incredible.
like, that's
That's awesome.
So heartwarming.
amazing. Heartwarming.
I'm friends. I consider to call myself friends with this guy on YouTube. His name's Ryan Van Duzer. And
Okay.
Ryan bikes across the country. He does a lot of thing on biking. He's not doing it for time. He's doing it to meet people and have those same experiences.
Yeah.
And in many of his videos, he's staying in these local towns and people invite them to stay at their house or to camp in their
Amazing.
yard. And the churches are one of them. Like, "Oh, you can camp in the yard here behind the church or in the town. Like the town has this center green or something." And I've never seen it personally, but I hear these stories and they just seem like some of the coolest, best stories in the world because
Honestly.
the people in that local town of Tennessee, like you talked about, like, you can stay here in the church. And there's times that he slept in the church. And you had one of those same experiences of this town that Ryan has had. And I think that's so cool. I've yet to experience it, and I would love to experience that one day.
Do you know what? You've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Eric. I think, the media reports so much negativity. I mean, they thrive off negativity in the press, right? But there's so many amazing experiences I've been fortunate to have that just restore your faith in humanity. And, it certainly makes you think, again, that word perspective, the world in a different place, because we're kind of trained to like think, "Oh, strangers, danger," kind of thing. But actually, like, most people are just like us, like, they just want to have a chat and, meet people from new places and exchange like we are now, stories,
Yeah.
right?
And you brought up a great point because that's something he kind of says a lot in his videos. And one place he goes to frequently and rides his bike is Mexico. And the media makes you just think Mexico bad. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're at a Mexican resort, like an
Yeah.
all exclusive or whatever, inclusive. But he bikes in these very, very like poor areas of Mexico, and the people are so nice. And everywhere he goes, he has the best interactions. And I love that you had that. That's so cool. That wasn't even an ultra. That was
No,
just an epic 2,000-mile run from Boston to Austin.
just a light jog. It was no big deal.
Yeah, I like jog.
Not an ultra, Jesus.
Unbelievable.
No,
So
that is
cool.
just a prime example of not just the running community coming out, but community in general, just taking
Absolutely.
care of people in need. I mean, you had to deal with not only physical challenges from just running that much every day, but logistics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to say, like, kids these days don't understand how difficult it is to navigate using paper directions. Like,
Oh my
people will not realize how hard that was.
I was talking about this with my wife a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, we're so lucky because obviously we're living in a new area, so we don't know where everything is yet, and we're
Mhm.
still figuring out our parents. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're so lucky to have like Google Maps and Waze to like direct us. I remember the first time I came to the States in 2001, I had to buy from Walmart like one of those big paper atlases,
An
like
atlas.
80 pages, which are interesting. I like looking at maps, but like not the most convenient when you're on a
Mhm.
motorway and you're like, oh God, we've gone the wrong way. What do we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Ideal.
Well, there's the scene in the movie Castaway where Tom Hanks takes out the map and puts it on the hood of the truck, and he's trying to figure out where to go next. It's just like, it's wow, that it seems so foreign today. But you mentioned you and your wife are in a new area. Did you just recently move from the UK? How did you come across the pond from the UK over to the States?
Yeah, just something that we'd always wanted to do one day. Even the first time I came to the States was to work at a summer camp in upstate Pennsylvania, again, teaching soccer when I was a lot younger without the going straight. And I was kind of blown away by the kind of quality of the outdoors, which I really, really like. Obviously, being an ultra runner, spent a lot of time in the outdoors. And I just thought, oh, it'd be a wonderful place to live one day. But it's very, sensible person. It's very difficult to achieve. And I think, through Boston to Austin, I was lucky enough to learn the skills that enabled me to get a career in medical device sales. And then through similar kind of characteristics that I learned through running about putting the hard work in and ultimately trying to get some rewards, I was able to get through some good positions within J&J, and yeah, ultimately was offered the opportunity to relocate to New Jersey and achieve something that I wanted to do 20 years ago. So it's something that feels really special, actually. And even right now, like one of our friends is staying with us at the moment. She's over from Scotland, and she was commenting about the area and what a pretty area it is. And I said, well, to be honest with you, I wake up every morning, I'm like, oh, I can't believe like we live here. It's like it seems a bit surreal. So I'm still taking it all in, but really enjoying the adventure.
Excellent. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
hey,
you.
we might be a little biased, but you should come up to New Hampshire and you should see the
We got
mountains
some
up
good
here.
mountains up
And
this way.
yeah,
I
you should
I've
come up here, check it out.
I would like to. Is there a 100 miler up there called the Jigger Johnson or something? Is it, or is that?
Yes.
I was looking at that. It was tempted, but actually now I've had that slight injury. I'm not going to do it. But I've heard good things about that race.
Next year.
Now, are you into ultras that are loops, or are you in like point to point ultra runner?
Um, I would prefer a point to point course,
Okay.
but I'm not averse to doing a loop as well.
Well, if you're looking for a little loop that's just like a easy breezy jog, I don't know if this is a hard ultra marathon, but one of Erica's favorites is called the hamster wheel. And it's in New Hampshire.
Can see where this
And
is going.
she's there every year. It's a
the
great
dumbest race in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
That's
Just
their tagline.
round and round.
It's exactly, and it's one of her favorite races. It's a great community, some amazing people. Again, I might be a little biased. I know a lot of them. I won't be there this year, but Erica will, and that's
I
a
need to
fun
check it
little
out.
race in New Boston, New Hampshire.
Well, when we get done tonight, I'm going to Google it and I will look at the hamster wheel.
Please
Nice.
do. This year I am just showing up. So last year was my third attempt at it, and I wanted to hit the 100 miler because it had an awesome buckle with a hamster with these glowing red eyes, and I'm like, I have to have it. This is my year. And so many people turned out to help get me through it and hit that 100 miles that this year I'm going to pay it forward. And I'm going to set up camp. I'm going to crew whoever needs some help. I'm going to pace whoever would like some help. So I will
That's
be there
awesome.
just in that capacity. So if you do decide you are going to come up, you let me know and I will help take care of you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And congratulations, by the way, on your recent ultras. You've done 3 in 30 days, I understand.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
Eric mentioned that and I was like, what? No, I didn't do that. And then he mentioned, I was like, oh yes, I did. Oh, no.
3 in 30
Not
days.
my smartest move.
A
But
72 hour, then a 12 hour, and then a 24.
That's very impressive.
Yeah,
that
pretty
was
much.
like 200. How many? I gotta.
Yeah, how many miles?
A lot.
I like that you guys work in miles, by the way, as well, not kilometers.
Good, good.
So, Scott, one thing we love is we love a good story. And I did a little bit of research. Abby might have helped me out a little bit here, but I want to hear about the Arizona Monster 300 and something about crowdsourcing a beer while running.
Oh no, that wasn't the Arizona Monster, but you're right. I may have crowdsourced a beer or
Crowdsourcing a
two in my
beer, I
time.
Well, I'll
like
hear
that.
about both. Tell me about the monster and then tell me about the beer.
Yeah, so I was very lucky to run the Arizona Monster 300 in the inaugural year back in April this year. 300 miles, guys. Heck of
So
a
you
long
were
way.
there
Not a
with
big
Andy
deal.
Glaze. I think
I was
Andy
there with
Glaze
Andy
ran that.
Glaze. Yeah, he's a good guy. We were chatting
Yeah.
actually at the beginning of the race, and yeah, it's just such a long distance, man. And Arizona, like you can tell, I'm from the UK. I'm slightly sunburned from just walking outside today. So, it's being in that heat is it's quite a challenge actually. I think that's something that people don't always think about. Like if you're going from Arizona to race in Scotland in the heart of the winter, it's a big difference to going to Arizona to race in Arizona in the heat. Like you're just more acclimatized, easier to it. So I had to do a lot of acclimatization sessions in the sauna, and then went down to Arizona. It was really cool experience actually, just to kind of spend so much time on the AZT. And it was a really good race. I ended up finishing ninth, so I was pretty chuffed with that.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you. It was, and look, we've all had good and bad races. I was just fortunate to have one of those days, or plural days, I suppose. 5 days of like everything just went to plan. Like I made a strong plan before we started the race with my coach Jeff Browning, and I was just able to execute it. And to your point earlier, Eric, like having the right people and friends around you to be able to help you is a massive part of it. So, that finish was as much as Abby's, Jake's, and Tina's as it was for me. So it was nice to finally get something out of a race like that. So I was delighted.
What was that plan then? Like, did you plan
That
on
was my
sleeping? Did
question.
you plan the sleeping out? Like,
Fueling. I need to know.
Yeah, massive. Like I planned the sleeping out, and that's a matter of trial and error as well. So like I've been working with Jeff for like 3 years now, and we've kind of it's not like the finished article, but I think 90% of the time I can get my sleep just about right. Depends on when you're trying to sleep as well. So like I won't sleep. I try not to sleep in the heat of the day. Because you're just more alert, you're more awake. It's much better to sleep when you're really, really tired. Typically, I do a shorter sleep on the first night and then revert to like 40-minute naps on the subsequent nights. And then in terms of like food and logistics, I mean, I went through every section of the race. It took me 3 evenings, full evenings of prepping all of my calories, all of my scratch hydration, taking the salt tabs and decanting those into sachets, then adding the scratch. Like it took forever to do, but doing that kind of level of preparation prior to the race meant that when I was coming into the aid stations, it was just all business, and I could just get what I needed to get out my next bag, and off I'd go. And that makes such a big difference, because you can train as hard as you want, but if your logistics aren't right, the whole thing can fall apart. And actually, the more tired you get, the more problems you're likely to encounter. So if you can preempt any of those problems by dealing with them before you start, then it's going to set you up for a better race overall, I guess. And then, like anything, right, you get a little bit of momentum and things start going the right way, and you're like, okay, let's just keep ticking over. And again, like I keep coming back to this word perspective, but like I think when you run these races, just like in any form of life, the key is to kind of not get too carried away with the highs or too despondent with the lows, and try to maintain some kind of level-headedness perspective, even when it's the middle of the night and you're running through the dark and you're scared, but you just got to try and keep it on the level, I guess.
Yep, that's definitely not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Like those races just bring out all the highs and all the lows, and sometimes it's so hard to dig yourself out when you're in that like the dark low place. And
Definitely
doing whatever you can to like you said, stay as level as you can. That is the key.
And with that in mind, so this seamlessly segues into the Cocodona beer sourcing incident, we'll call it that.
Okay.
So we were about 200 miles or so into Cocodona, which is another 250-mile race down in Arizona. This was in 2022, and I rolled my ankle at about mile 90. You can see it's on my Instagram and stuff, but it was a really bad one. And then I did it again like 5 minutes later, coming down a descent from Mingus Mountain to Jerome, and I knew it was pretty bad, but I just thought I'll just deal with it. And over the course of time, it got slightly worse and slightly more swollen. Surprise, surprise. But when you've paid all that money and traveled all that way, I'm like, F that. I want my buckle. I've got a buckle which I spent $2,000, probably $3,000 on. I'm not going home without it. So we got 200 miles in and came to the aid station. That's another great thing. Like, these 8 races have such wonderful volunteers and wonderful organization putting on great food and resource for you in the middle of nowhere. And I came in. It was hot, middle of the afternoon, and I said, "Has anyone got a beer?" They're like, "No, we got like Powerade, we got Tailwind, water, Coke." I'm like, "Beer? Anyone?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna go then." So I left that aid station, and my first instinct
You
was
left with nothing.
I just left with my like usual stuff, like Tailwind, water, kind of not moody, but a little bit like, oh, just love a beer. I know why it was. I was like running through the pines and seeing like these people out camping, and you see the RVs, and when you got nothing else on your mind, you're thinking, I wonder what they've got in their fridge. I bet they've got cold beer. Kind of like a
the other day,
raccoon.
I was running by people and I could just smell grills, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, food! It just smelled so
Civilization.
good."
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're out there like a feral beast on the trail, and I'm like, right, I know what I'll do. I'll message Abby, to my wife, who's a long-suffering wife, crewing me and pacing me all over the world. Bless her. I thought, right, I'll message her and ask her to get me a beer for the next aid station. 200 miles in, I don't think that's too deep-ish.
Yeah.
As I did so, I realized I had signal, and then I realized that the YouTube stream would be on for the Cocodona 250. So I was like, well, rather than put my wife out, let's see what we can do. So I pulled up the YouTube,
I love this.
and I basically I went straight into the live chat. I'm like, guys, this is an emergency. It's Scott here, the British runner, been out here. So I was the first Welshman to do that race, and I was like, I really need a beer. I really need a beer. And they're like, oh my God, we got to crowdsource this guy a beer. And they're like, great, I'll be at Fort Tuthill in about 3 or 4 hours, depending if the beer's there or not. So then I actually picked up my pace, which was carrot and stick, right? So the carrot got me going. Got in there, and this wonderful lady who I actually met a couple of years later, and she's like, "It's you. You're the guy that I served the beer to at Fort Tuthill." I was like, "Yeah, that's me." So this wonderful lady came up to me with an ice cold beer. I think there's footage of me on the live stream somewhere on YouTube. Someone digs it out of me like wandering into the aid station with this bottle.
I gotta find that footage.
It's generally there. I've watched it recently. I was like, oh yeah, that was probably the best in-race beer I've had. And I still managed to get home in like 35th place, so I was pretty happy with that. With the state of my
Not a big deal.
You talk about faith in humanity. If the live stream people came through for you, that is literally
it was amazing, right? I think that made the race, to be honest. That beer is just what you need. And actually, I left this out.
It picks you right back up.
So you can have all the sports science tech in the world, right? You can have your Garmin's and your Coros and your XYZ and whatever, right? But I can tell you this. So at every aid station at the Cocodona, at the Arizona Monster, every aid station that I would get to, my buddy Jake, he couldn't pace me, unfortunately, because he injured his ankle. So he did the next best thing. He, unbeknownst to my wife, every time I was approaching the aid station, he'd bring up the tracker and he'd have a look and see if I'd done a decent section or not. And if I'd done a good section, I'd just see him like kind of walk about 100 meters outside of the aid station with just this cold can of Coors. And he'd be like, good job. Yeah, have a sip of that. I'd have a sip of the beer, come into the aid station.
Taste the mountains.
I could say Mountain Fresh. It was Mountain Fresh, exactly. I would literally have a sip of that, and it would just put me in the best mood ever when I'd come into the aid station. Then they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely fine. Actually, yeah, it's great. What are we gonna do next?"
There's
So,
nothing better
yeah,
sometimes than a cold beer. It doesn't
when
matter
you've
the
earned it like that, it's
situation.
one.
Yeah,
Honestly, especially
unreal.
during races like that, though, a little bit of carbonation, but
Yeah,
you get a little
Right.
bit of carbs in there too. Like it's just the perfect
I'm,
little
I mean,
supplement.
I'm angling for a Coors Light sponsorship. I'm not going to lie to you at this point. One of the
Not
big
Gonna
Coors
beer,
do
Light, where you
Coors,
yeah,
at?
let's go.
Coors Light, Miller
The
Lite,
mountains
one
are
of the
always
two.
blue in an ultra marathon.
Exactly, exactly. But it works so well because, like, when you're that kind of dehydrated and you're drinking Scratch or you're drinking Tailwind or any of these drinks for so long, like just
Yeah.
having a sip of a cold one, it just takes the edge off.
Oh,
And
so
it
much
worked for me.
sugar like in those drinks. Like I know they're good for you with
Yeah.
the electrolytes, but just sometimes the sweetness is so
Right.
overpowering and you just need like a reset, and a beer
Oh,
is a great way
definitely.
to do it.
It
If
takes the
not,
edge
pickle
off.
juice.
Takes the edge off, and like,
Mhm.
especially when you're going into like, maybe a 10-hour night section. I didn't have any paces until the very last section at the 300s, and that was only because I
Mhm.
wanted to see what was going on around me. But like, going into a night section in the mountains and you're going in hand solo, like just having a sip of beer can be quite a comforting thing. You like take the edge off, right? Let's go. Let's get this thing
The
done.
little things.
Little things in life. That's it.
Not to bring us down, but what are some
So
of the
don't.
no, I want
Are
to.
you
I
going to
want
I'm
to
just
suggest a
hear it.
kidding.
substandard beer to me, like
Well,
Bud?
so we know the beer is amazing, but you've done so many ultras. You've done this Arizona Monster, your Cocodona. You did the Triple Crown of 200s that we'll get into in a little bit. But what are some of, like, maybe we'll call it learning lessons, or as I like to call, code browns. Now, a code brown isn't necessarily crapping yourself, but it's an oh crap moment. Like Erica, we were just talking about this before you came on. She would get in her first couple 100s this like really bad foot rash. Like what do you call it, Erica?
It's heat rash. Like
Heat.
your feet just get so irritated. Plus, I didn't learn for my first 100 that you're supposed to have gaiters on for trail to keep dirt out of your shoes. So that was my big code brown, and it caused a lot of
Code
issues.
Brown. I love it.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds
what are
cool.
some oh crap moments you've experienced in your ultra life here, or in any kind of running experience?
Well, there's quite a few, I would suggest. There's two that kind of really stand out. One more recent, one more old. So a true Code Brown, if you like, Eric, was back in 2014, 2015. Oh, no, sorry, 2015, 2016. I'd read about Badwater when I finished Boston to Austin. I was like, I'd love to do Badwater one day. How am I going to do it? Well, I need to make a plan. So I made a plan, and that involved going out and doing two consecutive solo crossings, like 2015, 2016, to raise my experience of that landscape and being in that heat. And so 2015, I was out on the stretch from it was at Darwin towards Lone Pine, and it's just kind of this barren stretch of sun-scorched landscape. And I think maybe I'd overdone it on the gummy bears or something like that, but I had to pull off the road to use the facilities, so to speak, and there weren't any facilities in sight. So I scrambled over into a dried out, what I would describe as a kind of furrow, or like just a little hollow area, and
Mhm.
I used the facilities. And then, as you all know, I would suggest when you're squatting down after you've run over 100 miles, it's quite painful to then get
Yeah.
back up. Unfortunately, as I kind of went to stand up again, I toppled over backwards,
No.
which was not ideal. Not ideal at all. Not least because shit plus sand is really
Oh
irritating.
God.
So I had to dispose of some wet wipes.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really bad, really bad. But I don't think the crew were very happy about having that back in the car in the desert heat for so long. But that was a true Code Brown. You asked for it,
Yes.
you got it. And then Code Red for eye watering, I would say, was Last year, I ran the North Downs 100, which is a 100-miler in the UK, run by Centurion Races. Really good run. It's actually a Western States lottery qualifier, so you get your ticket from that, which is quite useful. Not that those tickets really mean anything in terms of prizes, just means you get on a long waiting list forever. And can you tell I really want to get
We
into
know
it?
a few who've been through that experience.
Yeah.
I wish I could donate. I have one ticket, and I wish I could donate it to you because I don't want to run.
Let's talk offline. I'm sure we could figure out.
It's
I'm
yours.
joking.
It's
I'm
all
joking. I
yours.
don't want to get banned. I just want to get in. That's it.
We'll make it happen somehow.
So I'm running this race, and prior to the race, and this is probably oversharing for a live podcast, but when you
You'd be
talk
surprised.
about shit plus sand, then you may as well just talk about this as well. So I did a bit of coiffing, a bit of hairdressing to the nether regions prior to the race, but two prior, unfortunately, and then I doubled down on the pain by forgetting to use squirrel's nut butter at the beginning of the race because I was driving myself to the start and I was thinking about I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It was really early in the morning, and then the race started, and a couple of minutes in, I was like, "Oh, I didn't put squirrel's nut butter on." And then I got to the next stop and I used an inferior type of butter and it did not work. But I went out pretty well, and I was like running in the top 10 for like the first 30 or 40 miles. And like, oh yeah, we're doing all right. And then those sharp hairs plus soft skin in that particular region, honestly, I like one of the most excruciating things I've ever had to contend with in the back half of a race. It did not go well, but I'll never do that again. I promise you. So true.
Oh my God. That is some of the worst pain.
Oh man,
one could experience.
I've got when we're in that bar in Boston, I'll show you some pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
yeah,
Erica, not for your eyes, not for your Eric. You'll be all right after that.
You guys can have this one. I'm fine with it.
That's a classic. So that's a learning lesson.
It's a life
learning lesson, like prepping a week before or even longer before. You're like, okay, you got to time that out a little bit because
that's a pre-race logistic you got to handle appropriately, Eric, for sure.
Yeah. Unreal. I went on a quick 2-mile run today and I forgot to put the squirrel's nut butter on, and I was like, oh, it's just 2 miles. Nope. Bad. But anyways, it was just 2 miles. I got lucky. I wasn't running an ultra like you. But oh boy, Eric, I don't know if you've had that before, but
probably not as bad as you guys. Although I got this really bad one under my armpit. I think you can see the scar.
Oh yeah, I
got that during my New Jersey one, and it did not heal in time for my anchor down the weekend after. So I finally bought Desitin, the baby rash ointment stuff, and
is it good?
Worked wonders.
It's
I just literally took a plastic baggie and I was like,
isn't it the best?
Like, no deodorant all weekend, just straight up Desitin under my armpits, and it was wonderful.
I'm on a work trip right now, and I brought Desitin with me. I'm like, I have kids, so I learned, Scott.
I don't have kids.
I don't know what this stuff is, but it sounds good.
Yeah, I
baby
learned
rash
like
ointment.
this.
Yep.
I had really bad chafing one day. This is my own thing that I figured out on my own. I was training for an Ironman or something. I had a really long run, and the run went great, but the aftermath went really bad. And we have Desitin for the kids when they're babies. And I was like, you know what? I need this to heal up really fast. And I threw it on, lathered it on at night, and it worked like a miracle. It was a charm. And that is my go-to now. I will be on the road traveling, and I know I have a run. I forgot it. I'll go to CVS. I'll get like the IV sticks, the hydration sticks, and I get like chafing cream. Not chafing cream, but diaper rash cream. It is the absolute best. It's my code brown commandment. Chafing cream diaper rash cream cures chafing overnight. That's my commandment for the code brown. So
I might do a series like ultra runner shopping baskets pre-run. I think that's a good one actually, because like it looks like a stoner's gone mad and just gone like I will have 12 cans of Red Bull, 4 bags of gummy bears, some Haribo, some crisps, some chafing cream, some baby rash stuff. Like it's just the most mental shopping basket ever.
I'm going to do great. And then you follow it up after with the after the post-race shopping spree, 30 rack of Coors Light, pizza,
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah, and in the middle, you should do the cut where it shows you in the aid station. You're like, no, I don't want any of those gummy bears. No Red Bull. No, I
Yep.
really
Yeah.
want waffles. Has anyone got any waffles and a beer?
Oh,
That
you
is-
can make
and
some
it's-
great content.
It's always so curious, like what people crave during these ultras, because you can try to pack everything that you might want and just not touch any of it. Like that happened to me where I just packed so much shit that I was like, I don't want it. I don't want any of this. But like the aid station had a grilled cheese sandwich, and it was the best thing I've eaten like in
grilled
days.
cheese
Like,
is good. Yeah, during a
so
race, grilled
good.
cheese is a good
You never
go-to.
know what you're gonna want.
Yeah. Hey, you've done some pretty cool ultra marathons.
Thank you.
But what is on the bucket list? We know Western states, but like what's coming up? Not just what's coming up, but what's on your bucket list of things to achieve here?
That's a massive question. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
Western states for sure. Hard rock, I'd love to do as well. I'd love to go back to Cocodona and run that race. I'd love to go back to Badwater, run that race again as well. I think I could do better at that race now that I've learned quite a bit over the last few years. Um, I don't know. There's so many good races out there that I'd love to do. Tour de Giants, I want to do. Want to do the Wild Horse 200 in Wales as well, which is my brother's race that he puts on. So I'd love to go and do that one day.
Awesome.
Yeah, which would be good. Yeah, there's so many, and that's the nice thing about moving to the States. There's so many like big races that are more accessible for me now to go and do. Even like Canyons 100K and like Abilene, I'd like to go and do that.
Mhm.
It's, I do prefer the 200-mile distance. I like the strategy and the execution, especially when you're really up against it. And I know that that can make a big difference in these longer races. I'd like to go
Mhm.
and run the 300 again. I typically tend to do better when I've been on a course for the first time. So if I go out onto it the second time, I've not a photographic memory, but a good memory for what's coming up in each section, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah,
That is game changing as well. Just knowing it's not a secret anymore.
it's
Like
not.
you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I remember this section.
yeah, exactly that. And like there was a 22-mile section that on the last day of the Arizona Monster, and it was just a beast of a section. Like no access to water in 22 miles in that heat. It could be 8-10
Mhm.
hours, anything really. And I just remember thinking, this is why you get into it for these kind of challenges. But knowing now what that section's like, it has to be an advantage than going over it into it like we all did last year, completely fresh and not knowing what to expect. So
Mhm.
yeah, just so many cool races, and then maybe even Spine Race in the UK. Go back and do that one at some point too. So yeah, I got enough to keep me busy, but when I do a race, it has to excite me, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of hundreds out there, and I know people love to just go and clock up hundreds, and that's totally awesome. Love that. But I also, for me to be motivated to put the work in, it's just me personally. Like I want to do something that's in a location that really excites me. And again, I want to go back and run the Moab 240 for the fourth time. Still think I could do a better job of that race. So yeah, just finding the time and money and energy to put into it all, I guess.
Well, we just need
That's
that
true.
Coors Light sponsorship to pay for it all.
Well, I'm just saying. Didn't they sponsor Jean-Claude Van Damme for a few years? I mean, they could chuck me a couple of beers, couldn't they? It wouldn't cost them
Come
much.
on.
Yeah.
Can you tag them in this, please, and maybe send them a video because they'd be loving it, I'm sure.
So I love that you are a very experienced ultra runner, but even as experienced as you are, you keep finding ways that you could improve your performances, because I get that way too. I'm like, I just didn't have a good day. I know I can do better, and you just want the event to come up next weekend. Like I just want another shot. So there's always room for improvement and
Definitely.
growing, and just trying to be a little bit better, if
Yeah.
that's even making sense. But
No,
yeah,
it
it happens
totally
to all of us.
does. And I think, hand on heart, I think we all learn the most from when we get things wrong. I mean, failure is the real true learning in life, in my opinion. And actually, the true
Mhm.
learning of failure is, can you have the courage to alter your course of action when you're later faced with similar circumstances? That's the true learning, is can you apply it later on when you're faced with those similar circumstances? So
Yes.
for me, like, I've learned so much in running when I've got so many things wrong. And what you were saying a minute ago, like you think, oh, I buy all this food, and then, you know, I might not want half of it when I'm halfway through the race. Now I've got to a point where I'm like, if I buy this food, I know I'm going to eat it. Like, I've narrowed it down that much to exactly what I know I will eat repeatedly. So yeah, I guess that comes with time and failure, doesn't it?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, you learned a lot, and at the end of this recording, we're going to ask you these two big questions. But I change mine up every year, and I want to bring it back just for you because Erica mentioned you're very experienced, but you're always learning. So I had this question last year, and I was building a list called the Code Brown Commandments, and it was really just running advice. For instance, mine was the diaper rash cream, right? And someone would say something like, "Leave no trace."
Oh,
Erica,
was
give
Mike
me some other.
Siemens.
Yeah, that was Mike Siemens, actually. Mike Siemens had "Leave No Trace." He was back
A
on
big
the
popular
podcast.
one, never trust a fart.
Right.
Like just general kind of rules for running, how to be more successful and
But even not
suffer
Code
less.
Brown related, like people would give some great running advice for races. Try nothing new on race day. Like that's a simple one, right? But
Yep.
what's something you've learned if somebody was getting into ultra marathons? What's some advice you would give them?
My number one piece of advice for any runner, doesn't matter if it's 5K to ultra marathons, is get your salt right. If you get your salt right, you're probably going to get your fueling right for 90% of the time, I would say. So again, like, I used to get things wrong. I'd be throwing up or like not able to keep drinks down. And I hear so many people say the same things. And, you know, now I look at it and like I ran 300 miles and I was sick once. And that was because I took a warm gel in the middle of the day and got a load of it. You know, took too big of a gib of it and it just sat in my throat. I was like, oh, I'm going to cough that up.
Oh no.
But like not being like projectile vomiting or not cramping or anything like that. And the reason I say that is because I've done the precision hydration testing. I did it when I went to Badwater in 2021, and I was undersalting so much. Like my, you know, salt tab was ad hoc, I suppose. You know, make sure to take some salt caps, like a lot of people do, and I still see people doing it. But I was actually secreting per liter of sweat 1,371 milligrams of sodium. So, you know, if you're putting in 2 salt tabs, that's 500 mgs. You're not even at 50% of what you've done. And the easiest way to figure that out is by getting your salt test done. So, you know, 1,371, that's great. So then I know that if I've got a bottle of scratch there and a bottle of water there, I sip from the bottle of water, I sip from the scratch, which I've made sure has got additional salt through the tabs before I started the race, 1,371. So when I get through both of those bottles, I just do the same thing again. And that's how I keep my salt balance correct.
Oh, so smart.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds smart when I talk about it, but it's only because Jeff Browning taught me it, and he's a legend.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned Jeff once or twice. I'm guessing he's your coach or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff Browning
so-
is my coach, Bronco Billy. He's got the second most 100-mile
What a
wins of
name,
all
Bronco
time.
Billy.
Yeah, Bronco Billy. You know, there's no messing with a man like that. And
Badass.
he's just, he is a badass. I've learned so much from him as well. So, yeah, when you
Yeah, you're always learning, and that I'm going to call it now for that Code Brown commandment. I'm going to add to the list. Thou shall get their salt right. But that's such a cool learning process of doing that. And God, it would be cool if we one day could talk to a salt expert. But like, that's great advice. Get the salt right. Understand what you need and how much.
yeah, definitely.
And then you have a much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I mean, like I saw. So my thing was like I'd never run a city marathon, and then and it's just because I've obviously spent so much time doing 75 in a row. I'm like, what have I got to prove? Just go and get a medal from a course that I might not want to really run around. Like I said, it's got to excite me. So I was living in London for 12 years, and my boss's boss at the time said to me, one of my mates has pulled out the marathon. Do you want to run it? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? There's 2 weeks after I just finished the UTMB 100-mile Istria race in Croatia. So I was like, yeah, fine, we'll do it. So I stepped up to the plate. I went to collect my T-shirt pre-race, and they're like, I can't remember the guy's name. It's like Dave Jones or someone. They're like, Dave, you've got an XL T-shirt. Is that the right size? And I'm like, yeah, I've lost a load of weight while I've been training for the marathon. He's like, oh, well done, man. Have the T-shirt. So I'm like, okay, awesome. So I did the marathon, and I run a respectable like 3:28, which is the only city marathon I've done. So I'm like,
Mhm.
perfect. I'm happy. London, live there, great. But I distinctly remember like getting to mile 20, and the amount of people that were just like pulling up or cramping and couldn't walk, and like, I'm not saying I know it all, but like I knew straight away, like that's got to be salt. It has to be that you've not got it right. And I think, the salt tip, it could help. If it helps save someone's race in the future, then that's a really good
Yeah.
thing. So get that test done. It makes such a big difference for sure.
We got to do that, Erica. We got to get a
I
salt
would
test.
love
We'll
to.
document it, put it on the vlog or
Yeah, you
something. That would
should.
be cool.
It's really
Yeah,
easy
that's
as well.
great
It's
advice.
like they like shove you in an oven for 4 hours. Like it's literally
Down.
They,
It's
they're
really
like, is he
easy.
done?
Sit in
Put
an
a
oven
fork
for
in Eric. Is he done yet? No, he's still not enough salt. Let's get some more salt. Little
I'm
salt
down.
bay comes in like this. Um, no, it's more like they just put a thing on you and you just perspire, and I know science
Yeah.
figure it out, but it's good. It's accurate.
I love it.
Now, you mentioned your favorite distance is 200, which Erica has not even scraped the surface on that yet.
You should.
But
So much fun.
you ran in
150 is
some...
my next
Yeah.
Well, that's a heck of a distance
milestone.
too, and good luck, mate. You're gonna smash it, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So,
Someday.
but you ran in something called the crown, or the something at 200s. I have it written down. I'm doing a terrible job with my notes because I'm on
It's
a work
fine.
trip.
It's all good.
But tell me about the triple crown of 200s here.
Well, thank you for asking. So, and mate, you're doing a fine job. I appreciate you. So, yeah, it was the triple crown. No, it's
I
good.
typically have
Unless
3 screens. Right now I have 1. But I
so,
think
it's the
you're
triple.
the first Brit to complete this.
I was, yeah, I was very lucky. And I say lucky because you can put all the training in, but in a distance that way, like, to just have the opportunity to go and do it is lucky and fortunate to be in that position to get to go out and run, so far, but also just to have nothing go wrong. Touch wood was, very lucky, and lots of things could have gone wrong. But the Triple Crown of 200s consists of 3 races. So it's the Tahoe 200 over in Lake Tahoe, the Bigfoot 200, which is a beast of a race, just on this weekend. Actually, I think people will still be finishing that race right now.
I think Ashley Paulson just did that one.
She did, yeah, she did. And then the Moab 240 over in Utah as well. So you have to do all 3 in a calendar year. The year that we did it, the Tahoe race got postponed from June to July because of forest fires. So we ended up running 2 200-mile races in the space of, like, I think it was about 15 or 16 days, which was it was pretty brutal. Very, very difficult along the way. Lots of wildlife encounters. So I was being paced on a section in Tahoe, and 8 mile out and back, 8 miles each way, by a guy called Lee Adams, a friend of mine. And we're coming up the trail, and he's like, "Scott, stop!" And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Look." And then, like, literally 50 meters up the trail, there's 2 bear cubs in the middle of the trail. And he's like, "Don't move." And I'm like, "Mate, what do we do?" He's like, "Just don't move." And then just hear this enormous noise, and I'm like, "Oh, there's Mama." He's like,
You don't want to mess
don't-
with the cubs.
don't move,
I
don't
don't know
move.
what to do around bears, but you do not mess with
Oh
the
my
cubs.
God, it's terrifying. And it probably lasted 10 seconds. But now when I look back at it, I'm like, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And the mama bear just made a growl. The cubs ran across to the mama, and they took off. So, like, if Lee hadn't been with me, I could have because I was tired. Like, 3rd day of running, I could have just going. I wasn't paying attention. Moab, I was coming up the trail.
That's a code brown, by the way.
That is
that's my example I use all the time. A code brown is like running into a bear on the course, and you legit did that. You're the 2nd person on this podcast ever to tell us a story like that. That's awesome.
Well, my legit code brown for the Triple Crown series, it was actually overdone by the mountain lions in Utah. So we were coming up the trail on the last day of running into the morning of the last day. And I was with my pacer, Devon, on this occasion, and we were up in La Salles at about 12,000 feet. And we were on this very remote trail heading up towards what's now Giza Pass, they call it. And it was just maybe like 5 or 6 in the morning, just sun starting to come up, and I caught something off to my left hand side with my head torch, and I was like, "Ah, some deer," and I was like, "Devon, are those deer?" And he's like, "No," and I'm like, "What are they?" And he's like, "They're mountain lion." I was like, "No, no way." And we looked, and there's a video again on my Instagram, and you can see like it was two mountain lion literally looking at us in the
Those
trees.
are scarier than
Yeah,
That
bears. I'm
scares me
scared
it
way
to
more
actually
than a
is.
bear,
yeah.
100%. Like, I think a black bear is not too much, like, you just want to make the noise, but mountain lions and
Mhm.
grizzlies are a different level.
Oh,
You know,
even here in New Hampshire,
Ooh.
the bear is the common one I always use. But in New Hampshire, they always say be more scared of a moose than
oh,
a bear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You have to
because a moose will
zigzag.
charge at you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Apparently, a moose can't change directions very quickly. So you have to,
No, so you go to the trees.
you know, the real irony of it all, though, is that, you know, I ran this series of free 145-mile races in the UK. They're called the Canal Slam series, and you're probably at much more risk running through, you know, parts of London on a bank holiday weekend when it's kicking out time than you ever are in the wilderness of the US, to be fair. So yeah, the chances are it's been a little bit irrational with my fear, but nonetheless, real code rounds.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So this real quick though, this triple crown of 200s, you're the
Yeah,
first Brit to ever do it or complete it. But you also finished fifth. Is that like fifth overall? Is it a
yeah.
series and you're racing against everyone in every race? How did that all line up for fifth place? Which, by the way, in the Ironman world, that's a podium finish. I'm just going to call it a podium finish for you
Well,
too.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thanks, Eric. I'd love to get onto the top three spots one day, and that's a dream, but we'll see. But thank you. Yeah, I finished fifth overall, and I was pretty delighted with that. To be fair, it's they basically take your cumulative total across the three races, and that's how you determine the winner. And like we were saying a minute ago, there's so many things that can go wrong, so many like fine margins for error. So A, to just finish it, but then B, to finish it in that position, I was delighted with. But I keep forget about it, to be honest with you. It's just on to the next, right? As a runner, you just kind of think, well, what should I do next? It only takes like a couple of weeks. You're like, what should I do?
Yep.
Well, thank
But
you.
not
That's very
only
kind of you to
that,
bring it up.
like all these awesome races you also do them for charity, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I support a charity called Operation Smile, and I think, you know, when I think about where I started my running journey and raising money for the British Heart Foundation, the thing that it taught me was actually, you know, this is a great way to have an adventure in life, self-fund that adventure, but then try to raise money for the charity whilst I'm doing that myself. Um, and yeah, I was very lucky to run across Death Valley. Well, done Badwater, but I did run it twice independently, like I say, and off the back of that, the one year I was running, I was raising money for Operation Smile, and yeah, they very kindly invited me to go on a program visit to a small town in northern Ethiopia called Mekele. And for those of you who don't know, Operation Smile was a charity which performs surgical intervention for children with cleft lips and cleft palates. And
Mm.
I just think that a smile is a true universal language of the world. When we came on this show this evening, the first thing you do is smile, right? It creates that
Mhm.
warmth. So to not be able to do that, to be ostracized from society, I think is a very sad thing. And here in the West, we can fix that really quickly. Doesn't cost much to fix it. And
Yeah.
I don't count what I do in dollars in terms of fundraise. I count it in smiles. So I'm at 145 smiles now, and I'm like, I've got to get to 150. And you know,
Yes.
yeah,
I
that's
love that.
well, thank you. That's really kind of you to say. Because coming back what I was saying earlier as well, like when you get older in life, you know, what will be the things that you'll remember? And for me, I just think it'll be the times where I went out, had an adventure, did some good at the same time. And if I can accomplish
Yeah.
that, I think I could look back and be like, oh, that was a full lot. You know, you did everything you possibly could. And yeah, you've just got to seize the day, right? I've very sadly
Right.
lost a couple of friends over the last few years, one very recently, and it just makes you feel very, very sad, but also very grateful to have the opportunity to still be here to go out and have these adventures. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to go and make the most of it, not just for myself, but for those that never got the opportunity to do those kind of things. So
Right.
that's where my head's at.
Ah. Well, we are so sorry to hear about your loss, but you are
Thank
doing
you.
some amazing good in this world, Scott, and we need more of
Thanks,
this
Erica.
in
That
this
really
time.
means a
Like
lot. Thank you.
it's necessary, and you are doing the right thing.
Thank you. That means that means a lot. Thank you. And I just think one day I'll sit there on the sofa and I won't remember what I've seen on Netflix, but I remember the time that I had that unfortunate issue with the sand in Death Valley. Not least because I've probably still got the chafing.
Oh, the memories.
Oh man. Hey, talk about Abby for a minute because
Yeah.
you do some really cool stuff here. You do some awesome ultra marathons. You travel the world. Now you came across the pond. You brought her with you. Talk a little bit about Abby. She's part of your crew, obviously, but she's on board for all this too.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's got a life insurance bounty out on my head. It's a long suffering wife. But no, Abby, like, was the one that got me into pushing myself to want to do more with my life. And, she was ultimately the one that kind of said, you should have the confidence to go for J&J. And, I was lucky to get that opportunity. And it was Abby that got the role in the States first and, brought us over. But all of the adventures that I've had, I've been lucky to have such an amazing supporting wife by my side, pushing me to always do more. Every aid station I come through, right? What are you doing? Don't mess around. Let's go. And it's not just the running side of it. It's like, come on, we've got to make sure we're doing more for Operation Smile and more to try and help others, right? We're the lucky ones that we get to go and have these adventures and be fit and hopefully well enough to go out and have these kind of races in the middle of nowhere. So I don't take that for granted, and to share it with your wife or your significant other is it's a special thing to do, isn't it? It really is. So and she's been unfortunate at times in pacing me as well. Bless her. So there's a very famous incident, or infamous in my opinion, but back in Moab in 2019, I ran the race for the first time, and I didn't know anything about running 200 miles. So I was just like, well, I'll figure it out. I've run far before, it'd be fine. Didn't know anything about sleep deprivation. I got 200 miles into the race at Giza Pass, and my crew, Abby, was there, and they're like, you okay? I was like, yeah, great. I'm pretty cold though. They're like, it's -4. They said, how was your night? I said, yeah, it's it was interesting. I met two cowboys out on the trail. She said, you do realize -4, you're up at like 12,000 feet. There's definitely no cowboys out there. I was like, right, okay, well, let's just keep going. She's like, you're doing really well. You're in like 15th place. Let's keep pushing. I'll see you in the next aid station, 20 miles. And my buddy Rid came and paced me for that next 20 miles. And he later told me that he could tell the wheels were falling off, but he didn't really know to what extent. And none of us did, because we'd never been to that distance before. So we're coming down the trail, and we get into the last aid station, and I was feeling, pretty tired, pretty exhausted. And I got in there, and I didn't really know where I was. And we decided that, we'd just push for the finish. So they took all my kit and just made it as light as possible. And off we went. I was still holding on to 15th place. And then things took a little bit more of an awry turn as I started to kind of stagger around the course and in and out of bushes, and lying on the floor, refusing to move, then getting up and weeing in the bush and all that stuff, and procrastinating. And more people were starting to go past me. And then things took an even more sinister turn when I started getting chased by a witch. So I was absolutely convinced that I was being chased by a witch down this remote trail, Porcupine Rim in Moab, Utah. And I was terrified. I fell over a few times. I got up and I ran, and I did the only thing that I could do was to hide under a rock. So I hid under the rock, and I could hear the witch's voice calling my name, Scott, Scott, come out. Where are you? Where are you? All this time, I'm going from 15th, like right back, downfield. And, eventually the witch stuck her head under the rock like that to get me out. And I did the only thing you could do in that situation, which is the crucifix, which is internationally renowned to ward off vampires and indeed witches too. It's in the literature somewhere, I'm sure. So anyway, the witch says, come out, come out. And I said, away, witch, away. To which the witch responded, I'm not a witch. It's me, Abby, your fucking wife. So,
That is some of the best hallucination stuff I've ever
Erica,
heard.
the moral of the story is do not call your witch a wife. Or a wife your witch. A wife your witch. Either way you cut it, it's not a good outcome. It's not.
Nope.
So
complete opposite of happy wife, happy life. No, do not do that.
Exactly. It wasn't a happy scenario. I mean, she was fearing for her life, she told me afterwards, because I wouldn't come out and it was, tremendously cold, -4, -5. So eventually they got me out of under the rock. Another runner called Jason Wooden was coming down the trail on that last section, this pacer that 2019, I don't know how they were allowed to have a dog with them, but the pacer had a dog with them. And the pacer and the dog, between them, managed to get me out by going, there's not the dog obviously, but the pacer went, there's a cookie, I've got a cookie, do you want to come out from under the rock? And then the dog like licking my face, and I'm like, okay, I'll come out. And I finished the race. So I went from 15th to 35th in like the last 16 miles of a 200-mile race. And we're talking about like learning from failure and applying those learnings. So in 2021 I got the opportunity to go back and race that race again, and it was a really cool experience. I got 200 miles into the race, and again I was like doing all right, and this time I knew that I had to sleep, and I forced myself to sleep. Abby helped me with that, and we got out from the aid station as I'm getting ready to go. Who turns up? Not the witch. Jason turns up, didn't tell me he was coming to pace me for the last 40 miles, and we ran the last 40 miles and could have been fresher, and finished in 15th place, which is where I should have finished 2 years ago when he rescued me from under the rock. So it was a very nice moment and a very nice story. It all ended well eventually, just 2 years later after it started, basically.
So the moral of that story is sleep deprivation is no joke.
No,
take a nap.
It could end a marriage potentially.
Well, I'm glad in your case it hasn't, because she is one of your #1 supporters. She reached out to us about a month or so ago and said, you should talk to Scott. He's amazing. She gave me some insider tips there. Let me tell you something, Scott. So Erica didn't know I was talking to Abby. I do all the behind the scenes work, the emails and everything, the invites that I was very late on sending you.
I appreciate you for having me on.
Break. Yeah, we take a break every July, and we kind of took a longer one because we haven't really recorded since the middle of June, and this is our first Monday night back since our break, and we doubled up. And I said, Erica, we're doubling up this Monday. We're having 2 people on, and she's like, oh,
I was like, I'm ready.
She's like, I'll plan my Monday around it. I have to get my mile in, and I go, you're really gonna like this guy, because he's an ultra runner, and he's a badass ultra runner. And I am listening to your stories, watching her on the screen just light up, and she's
my
loving
face is
every
like,
moment
well, thank
of
you.
it.
Honestly,
I just love everything the ultra community has to offer, just because everybody has stories, and they're all, I mean, some are fun, some can be sad, some can be all over the place, but just hearing anybody's experience with them just validates me a little bit.
And you absolutely delivered. I've never done an ultra. I've never done anything more than a marathon. I've done an Ironman too. But yeah, there's time. There's plenty of time.
Hamster
but you absolutely
wheel.
delivered. Like, these stories were great. However, you're not done. We have 2 final questions, and I'm gonna let Erica go first.
Do you know what I liked about that? Was you positioned it a little bit like an ultra. That sounded very much like Abby. You're not done. You still got 2 sections to go. And I'm like, oh, fuck, really? Like, I thought I was done. I'm joking.
Hopefully
You're
this
like,
is
really,
better
Rich?
or a little
I didn't
easier
do
than
that.
an ultra at least. But Scott, we have ourselves a Spotify playlist, and we've been compiling a list of like all of our guest choices, is there any song that you would like to add to our list? Something that gets you fired up? Just one song.
Just one
Eric says
song.
one. Eric says one. So is
There,
there anything you'd like to add?
there are a lot of songs that get me fired up, and it depends what you're doing as an activity. I'm sure your guests before me have alluded to that as well. You could be out in the middle of the night running through the forest, and you've got some like Calvin Harris blasting, and you're like super motivated, or maybe you're throwing weights around in the gym and you got a bit of Metallica on. Like, I've got an eclectic taste in music, but I will give you a British artist who isn't that well known in the US yet. However, I'm going to give him some high praise, not because I know him or any way affiliated, because he's actually really good. But he's like a young Bruce Springsteen, actually. Like, he talks in his songs about his upbringing in the industrial northeast of England. And he does this great song, and it's called People Watching by the artist Sam Fender. Fender like the guitar. I promise you, if you listen to that one song, you'll listen to it and you'll be like, oh my God, this guy is really, really good. And I reckon in 10 years' time, if you have me or somebody on the show, everyone will know who he is. He's touring the US. I'm going to see him in Philly on the 21st of September. And he, in the UK, sells out like 80,000 seater stadiums. In the US, he's not well known yet, but I promise you, listen to him on the way into work tomorrow. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Yeah. He's going to get the On the Runs bump.
Yeah. He's really good. Great question, by the way. I love that.
I saw something the other day. So Ozzy Osbourne just passed away in July, and he's from the UK, and they had this huge concert, this huge like reunion just a few weeks before he died. But it wasn't just one day, it was a lead up where they all took these photos and they all had these cool moments. Like Metallica was there. One of my songs is Whiskey in a Jar by Metallica.
Great song.
That's the one for the gym when I was doing these badass CrossFit workouts.
Love that.
Ozzy told this one young up and coming artist who's in the UK, who's doing really well in the UK. He goes, you go conquer America. When you go conquer America, you'll conquer the world. And so this young Bruce Springsteen like guy you mentioned, he's coming over here to conquer America, and we're all going to hear him soon. Erica, send me the song when we're done with this. But it's my turn. I have one question just like hers. However, I change mine up every year. And last year was the Code Brown Commandments. I asked you that earlier. But this year, my question is this. On the Runs is going to have this huge, massive, really fun pasta dinner at the end of the year. And all our guests from 2025 are welcome. And they all get to bring a +1, not including family. Abby is welcome to come. But you can bring anyone in the world, alive or dead. Who is your +1 you're going to take to our On the Runs pasta dinner?
Oh, wow. So this is going to be a bit obscure for an American audience, but hopefully people from rugby playing nations will know. So Wales, unfortunately, is my home country is not going through a good run of form when it comes to international rugby at the moment. But we're a very proud nation. I'm very proud to be from Wales, and we had a great Welsh rugby captain called Alan Wynne-Jones, and he's the most capped, which means the most appearanced rugby international player of all time. And somebody once asked him, they said, Alan Wynne, you're the most capped international rugby player of all time, 170 performances for his country. And you think about like a game like hockey or like NFL, to play in a physically demanding game like that for so long without your body breaking is incredible. And when I ran the Arizona Monster, it wasn't long after I read his autobiography. And to get to my point, I suppose, Scott, come on, you want to move on. The point was that somebody asked him, they said, Alan Wynne, 170 performances. How on earth did you stay at the top of your game for so long? And he just raised this furrowed brow, as he used to do when he was playing rugby. And he just turned to him and said, well, just stayed hungry for the work. And when I ran the Arizona Monster, I just kept thinking about that. Just got to stay hungry for the work. And if you do that, you get quite far in life, I suppose. And there you go.
What a motto. Beautiful. I love that.
That was great.
It's a good quote.
The whole thing was great. What a night. Like
it's been awesome.
I want to tell you, I'm a dad. I love dad jokes and everything, but I heard something great the other day, and I've used it on a few people. And you run for the Smile
Operation
charity.
Smile.
and I learned this cool joke. I want to end you on this. It's not a joke, sorry, but it's did you know you can't feel your tongue when you smile? And I
No.
like to say that to someone when they're not smiling, because then I did it to Lindsay the other day, Erica, because then they're
You
like, wait a
did.
second, what? And they smile. They're like, oh,
You have to
oh,
like,
you're
think
right.
about it for a sec.
And then it's like, oh, look at that smile. Look at that smile. And I love
Well,
that. So this was
that's
fun. I'm so happy Abby reached out to us, Scott. This was
me
great.
too.
I've been watching
Really.
Erica smile the whole time.
Truly
talking
was a
ultra
pleasure.
marathons.
I had such a good time talking with you
Oh,
tonight.
me too. It's
This
been
was truly a
amazing,
lot of
and
fun.
what I love.
We went beyond her hard cutoff, and she didn't
Worth
complain
it.
or care because she's
Staying
like,
up late on a
loving
Monday
this
night. Staying up late on a
on a
Monday
Monday
night. It's a
night.
slippery slope.
You're
Yeah.
worth it,
Oh,
Scott.
well, thank you, Erica. I appreciate
This
that.
was great.
I
If
really
you're
enjoyed
ever in the Northeast, we're about 50 minutes north of Boston.
Okay.
We're just over the border in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
If you're going to do Jigger Johnson, or if you're going to do the hamster wheel, check that out.
Yeah.
Like, let Erica know, she'll be there. I know you're not into loops and probably not even time races. You're just the 200 miler guy, but there's an awesome ultra in Rhode Island called Anchor Down.
Okay. I'll have a
You
look.
would 100% qualify.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
loop course, and it's 6, 12, or 24 hours. But like we you know what I'm doing? I'm pumping the tires for the ultra community that I know and am a part of in a way.
Mhm.
And those are the ones I've gone and crewed at. They're great, but I know the ones you go to are amazing. You're pod fam now, just like Mike Seaman, Ashley
Thank you.
Paulson, Andy Glaze. All those guys are pod
Susie
fam.
Chan.
Yeah.
Susie Chan. Like, you know, these people that we know, and it's so cool. And
Really nice.
I should have put 1 and 2 together. I should have, because I occasionally text Mike, or we DM each other back and forth.
Oh, he slides into
I
his
should have been
DM.
like, Scott is coming on the podcast. Give me the dirt.
He knows it all. He knows it all.
Next time.
Next time. Well, hey, maybe one day we'll be podcasting from one of his shows, and maybe you'll be there and he'll be there, and we can get you both on together. And
We
you can
should do
just
that.
talk
That'd be
about those
fun.
things.
I'd love to come up to the run show, and I'll do it only on the only if we can go across the road to the bar afterwards and have a drink.
Yes,
Job
it's
done.
going to
100%.
happen.
Perfect.
It's going to happen.
Deal.
All
This
right.
was great. This was awesome.
you so
Abby,
much,
if you're
guys.
listening, thank you
Thank
for
you.
setting this up. And Scott, you were amazing. You
All right.
absolutely
Don't worry about
delivered.
that. But that's very kind. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for having me on, guys.
The
Awesome.
pleasure is ours.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that, because that was wicked awesome. Scott Jenkins on the On the Runs podcast.